Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're talking about something you've probably seen a million times in the health food aisle, Ezekiel Bread. Yeah, that one. It's got this whole biblical, super healthy vibe, right? Well, let me tell you, the real story behind it is, wow. It's way more shocking and honestly, way more fascinating than you could ever guess.
So here's the big question we're going to tackle. Is this bread really some divine health food, a little piece of ancient wisdom for your avocado toast? Or, and this is a big or, was it actually a symbol of something much, much darker, like total desperation and starvation? Kind of changes things, doesn't it?
Okay, so to really get the twist here, let's start with what we think we know. You know, the whole biblical superfoods thing.
Right, so you walk into any health food store and this is the story they're selling you. Ezekiel Bread is a premium product. It's got sprouted grains, it's a complete protein. It's basically marketed as this divine diet plan, right? Like you're eating the super clean, ancient recipe straight from the Bible. I mean, it sounds amazing, totally aspirational.
But here's where it all gets turned upside down. The actual story goes way, way back to a pretty terrifying time. We're talking 6th century BC, during the brutal siege of Jerusalem. And when you look at the original recipe from the prophet Ezekiel himself, the first thing that jumps out is, well, the ingredients are just weird.
Okay, look at this list. To us, today, this looks pretty healthy, right? A nice multi-grain blend. But for someone living back then, oh man, this was a giant red flag. You've got your good stuff, wheat, but then it's mixed with barley. That's peasant food. Then you're throwing beans and lentils into the dough, which, no, you just didn't do. And the kicker, millet, which is basically animal feed, and spelt, a grain you only ate when you had literally nothing else. This was not a gourmet choice.
Yeah, this quote absolutely nails it. It's like that moment you realize the grocery stores are closed for a week and you have to make a meal out of whatever's in the back of your pantry. It's not a recipe for health, it's a recipe for survival. It's what you make when the city is under siege, food is running out, and you are scraping together every last crumb to stay alive.
So what would people have thought seeing this? They wouldn't see a new health craze. No way! They would see famine food. That's what this was. The second they saw Ezekiel mixing these specific things together, it would have sent a chill down their spine. It was a terrifying, living, breathing prophecy of the disaster that was about to hit them.
And that's the key right there. This whole thing was never about your health. It wasn't a diet tip. It was a piece of prophetic performance art, like intense street theater. And its purpose was to scream out a message: God's judgment is coming.
And I mean, what a performance it was. God tells Ezekiel to lie on his side 390 days straight. Can you even imagine? He's physically acting out the years of the nation's sin. And what's he eating the whole time? Yep, this bread. It was a prop, a symbol of the starvation and utter desperation that was coming with the siege.
And get this, to really hammer the point home, he was only allowed to eat about 8 ounces of this bread a day. 8 ounces! The Bible calls it 20 shekels worth. That's not a diet, people. That's a starvation ration. It was all part of the act, showing everyone just how bad things were about to get.
Okay, but it gets even crazier. If you think the ingredients and the tiny portions were shocking, just wait. The real gut punch, the part of this whole prophecy that would have made people's jaws drop, was the cooking instructions.
So God's first instruction to Ezekiel is to bake the bread over human dung.
Yeah, you heard that right. Now, Ezekiel's a priest, so he's completely horrified. He basically says, I can't do that. I've cut myself holy my whole life. And God, in a moment of mercy, says, okay, fine, you can use cow dung instead. But the point was made, loud and clear. That shocking, disgusting cooking method was the real message. It symbolized that in exile, the people would be forced to live in unclean, defiled conditions, totally cut off from God and everything they held sacred.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? This was not some ancient cooking show. It was gritty, in-your-face street theater with one clear message: judgment is coming.
So, that leads to the million-dollar question, right? How in the world did a symbol of starvation, judgment, and, questionable cooking fuel become a premium health food you buy at the supermarket?
Well, funnily enough, the answer comes from modern science. It turns out, when you mix greens and legumes together like this, you actually create what's called a complete protein. It has all 9 essential amino acids. Now, this was probably figured out through pure desperation. People under siege learned that this combination kept them from starving. But today, that's the marketing gold. The whole complete protein angle is what sells the bread.
But here's another little twist. The modern bread takes a few liberties. One of its main selling points is that it's made with sprouted grains. And that's great. It's supposed to be easier to digest. The only thing is, the original biblical text says nothing about sprouting the grains at all. So that's a totally modern, healthy upgrade, a nice one, sure, but it wasn't in the original recipe.
And this is where it all comes together, the central irony of this whole thing. You have siege rations, a symbol of scarcity, judgment, and starvation that have been transformed into a wellness product, a symbol of health, abundance, and biblical wisdom. It's the exact same recipe, but the context has been completely 180 degrees flipped on its head.
Honestly, this quote is just perfect. It really does feel like selling an authentic siege experience in the organic food aisle. The disconnect between what this bread was and what it is now is just massive. It's almost funny if you think about it.
Okay, so let's push all the marketing stuff aside for a second. What's the real lesson here? I mean, why should we care about the true story of a bread recipe that's over 2,500 years old?
Because here's the thing, this bread was never meant to be something to aspire to. It was meant to be sobering. It was a wake-up call, a warning about what happens when you don't listen.
And that's really the big takeaway from all of this. The story of Ezekiel Bread is just this perfect example of why context is everything. When we pull anything, a Bible verse, a historical event, a news clip, out of its original context, we can twist its meaning into something it was never meant to be. We can literally turn a prophet's dire warning into a health tip. So, that leaves us with one last thing to think about. A question for all of us, really. When we look at ancient texts or history, are we really trying to understand their deep and, yeah, sometimes really uncomfortable wisdom? Or are we just kind of mining them for life hacks, just picking out the little bits and pieces that fit into our modern wellness goals? It's definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me.